Good morning.
Morning, Rabbi.
Welcome. Okay. Today I want to discuss an interesting detail of our Parshat, the portion of this week, which is the portion of Tetzaveh. In this portion it talks about, the opening verses of the portion talk about the commandment that God tells Moshe. And he says to him, Va'ata Tetzaveh, and you should command the Jewish people that they should take to you the oil, the olive oil that will be used to kindle the lamps, the menorah in the temple. Right after that comes the commandment that Moshe should bring Aaron and his sons, and they should make for them the priestly vestments, the clothing that they would wear when they do the service in the temple, and half the portion discusses the details of those clothing, and there were basically 8 different vestments. The second half of the portion talks about the installation of the Kohanim, of the priests, into the kahuna, into the priesthood, and how that should be done, the inauguration of the Kohanim. And the final subject of the portion is the commandment to make the golden altar that was used in the inner sanctuary of the temple, and which was mainly used for the incense, and it's called the incense altar. Now, there's an interesting fact related to this portion, and that is that in the 4 books, the last 4 books of the Chumash, which are Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, Shmos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim, this portion is the only portion in the whole Chumash from when Moshe is born that his name does not appear even once. That means from the portion of Shemos, from the beginning of from the beginning of Exodus, all the way to the end of the Chumash, to the last portion, Moshe's name appears in every single portion except for this one. And why is this? This is because we will learn next week that when the incident of the golden calf took place, what happened there was that the Jews did the terrible sin of the golden calf, and God wanted to destroy the Jewish people entirely, and he told Moshe that I'm going to make a new nation through you. I'm going to get rid of these people and we'll start over. So what did Moshe tell Hashem? He told him, I'm sorry. He said, either you forgive the Jewish people, and if you don't forgive them, erase me out of your book that you wrote. Now at the end we know that God did forgive the Jewish people. So therefore Moshe's name was not erased from the book of the Torah. But once a tzaddik utters something out of his mouth and says, erase me, even if it's on condition, because he said, erase me if you don't forgive the Jewish people. The end was that God did forgive, so he doesn't have to erase him. But once a tzaddik utters out of his mouth the words, erase me, even if it's on condition, there is it does make an impression. It leaves an impression, and therefore it has to be fulfilled, at least somewhat. So this statement of Moshe that he tells God, erase me from your book, was fulfilled in one portion. That his name was not mentioned in the portion of Tetzaveh. You understand? No?
But he says this in the next portion.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. The question is, fine, so you have to erase him from at least one portion because he said those words. But why from this portion? There are so many portions between the book of Exodus and the book of Deuteronomy and Devarim. There are so many portions. There are about 40 portions. Why did God choose this portion to erase his name?
Backwards.
And he went backwards, right? It would make more sense that it should be one of the portions that come after the words erase me. So why is it that this portion was chosen to erase his name? Obviously, there's something about this portion that makes this portion the fit one for the erasing of his name. There's something about this portion, the content in this portion is in line with the idea that Moshe's name should not be present. We will see soon what it is. And this portion talks about, as I mentioned, a number of items: the priestly vestments, the bringing of the oil to Moshe for the candelabra, for the menorah, the inauguration of the Kohanim, and the golden altar that was used for the incense. Something about these items, something about the content, that which is discussed in this portion, it's the content of this portion that made this portion the chosen one to erase Moshe's name. We will see what that is. Also, it's interesting to note that when you say that Moshe's name is not mentioned in this portion, it's not that Moshe is not discussed in this portion. He clearly is discussed more than once. In fact, in the entire portion, he's discussed over and over and over. It's just that his name is not mentioned. But Moshe is discussed very much. In fact, the very opening words of this portion is Ve'ata Tetzaveh. You, who's you? It's Moshe. So we're talking about Moshe in great detail, but not his name. And it's interesting that not only is Moshe discussed in this portion, but when you say Ve'ata Tetzaveh, you should, what does the words mean? You should command the Jewish people to bring the oil for the menorah. That's the subject in the first verse. So the commentators tell us that when the verse says V'ata and you, it's not only talking about Moshe, but it's talking about his essence. V'ata you, your essence. So not only is Moshe discussed in this portion, but his very essence is mentioned in this portion. And we'll see soon that the essence of a person is even deeper than the person's name. So was Moshe erased from this portion? He was erased, but he wasn't. His name was erased, but Moshe is very, very present, very much present in this portion. In fact, even a deeper level of Moshe is present in this portion. Because what is a name? Why do you need a name? Your name is Norman. What do you need a name Norman for?
Recognize you.
Oh, so that other people should be able to recognize you, should be able to refer to you, should call you. But if you live alone somewhere and there's no one around, there will be no purpose for a name. No one has to call you, no one has to refer to you. That means that a name represents an outer expression of yourself. It's you as you are relating to someone outside of you, to other people. But for you yourself, you don't need a name. You are higher than your name, in other words. A name is an expression, an external expression of a person. So when we say Va'ata, you, Moshe, should command, and every time in the portion that it refers to Moshe, it says V'ata and you, and as I mentioned, the commentators tell us that Va'ata refers to the essence of Moshe. So not only is Moshe not erased from this portion, but he's even more present. In other portions, he's referred to by name. Over here, he's referred to by his essence. So is he erased or is he not erased?
No.
He is, but he's not. You can't say he's not because his name is not mentioned because he said erase me. On the other hand, he's very present. His essence is present. In other words, the fulfillment of Moshe's statement that God should erase him was fulfilled in a way, in a portion that his essence is present. We will see how all this relates and how all this is connected. In other words, the fact that he's erased emphasizes the essence and the greater advantage of Moshe. Let's see what this means. when Moshe asked God, he was standing on the mountain. What happened over there? The Jewish people sinned, the golden calf, and God was going to destroy them. And he tells them, Moshe says, you can't do that. And if you are going to do that, if you don't forgive them, then erase me from your Torah. Rashi tells us that when Moshe said those words, he meant erase me from the entire book. Imagine, Moshe says, erase me from the entire Torah, I want nothing to do with it. Now, Moshe's connection with the Torah was not just a superficial connection. Moshe was his entire existence was the Torah. It says that the Torah is called by Moshe's name. It says it's called Torah's Moshe, the Torah of Moses. The Torah is named after him. And why is it named after him? Because Moshe gave his whole life for Torah. His whole life, his whole essence, his whole existence was Torah. He was so deeply connected to the Torah. So when he says, erase me from the Torah, this is not just, he's playing around and he's giving up his whole essence. He's giving up his whole life. Everything he stood for, he's telling God, erase. You know what it means to erase Moshe's name, to remove him from the whole Torah? It means that his whole life's project, his whole life's mission will be null and void.
The connection from the Jewish people to Hashem is Moses. Sounds like
The connection of the Jewish people to God is through Moses. I say you're right. But I'm talking about Torah now. I'm not talking about the Jewish people. I'm talking about his connection to Torah. The Torah is connected to Moshe's very essence. And nevertheless, he says to God, if you don't forgive the Jewish people, take me away. I don't want to have anything to do with the Torah. It's a tremendous sacrifice on his part. You have to appreciate what happened here. What's your question?
No, remember the Talmud says about the three legs of a chair with Abraham and
Yeah. And why did he say this? Why did he ask God to erase him from the Torah? Why was he ready to erase himself from his entire life's essence and mission? In order to bring atonement for the Jewish people. And which kind of Jew? The Jewish people that just did the worst of sins. The sin of the golden calf was the worst sin. It was the source of all sin. It says that we, till today, we are suffering from that sin.
Where was Aaron?
Aaron was not on the mountain.
Aaron
was with the Jewish people.
With the Jewish
Aaron was with the Jewish people.
Didn't they supposedly threaten him that if he didn't do, they would kill him?
That was Aaron, but we're talking about Moshe right
but
now.
he asked about Aaron. Where was Aaron?
Why they?
Aaron was with the Jewish people. He wasn't on the mountain.
Right, but why to reach that level of the scene when your brother is there, supposed to take care of the things?
This is a different question. Why Aaron didn't why didn't Aaron stop this whole thing?
Right.
And that's a different question. We'll talk about that maybe next week.
Weren't many of the people who were involved in this stragglers from Egypt?
True, yeah. But they were Jewish also. They converted, became Jewish. They joined the Jewish people. They were Jewish.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So why did Moshe say to Hashem, erase me from the Torah? He's ready to give up his entire connection to Torah to gain atonement for people that just sinned with the worst of sins. Now there's another question. What does this mean? God wants to destroy the Jewish people. And what does Moshe tell God? If either you're going to forgive them, and if not, erase me from the Torah. What's the connection? What's going to be erase me from the Torah? What does that help? What's the connection between atonement and being erased from the Torah?
But the Torah was given by God.
Okay, so
it's the essence of the connection. It's what makes it. The Jewish people connect to God, to the Torah.
right.
So when you say erase me, it's like take the Torah between. It's like pull something out, so you cut the connection. This is practical.
That's worse. So why is that good? That's good, or is that bad?
It's bad.
But he's saying to God, either you forgive them, and if you don't,
Correct.
erase me from your Torah. What's that got to do with anything?
It's like erase the connection.
Why is erasing from the Torah going to gain the Jewish people's atonement? Well, what does this mean? So let's try to explain this. We know that Moshe and the Jewish people are one. Moshe and the Jewish people are one unit. Rashi tells us that Moshe is Israel and Israel is Moshe. They're intertwined, they're one essence. And that is why when Moshe was on the mountain, he wasn't even among the Jewish people when they did this terrible sin. He was up on the mountain talking to God. If you remember the story, what does God tell him? Go down, because your people have sinned. And Rashi tells us, what does it mean, go down? What God was telling him, you're going to be lowered from your great holy status. In other words, the sin of the Jewish people had an effect on Moshe's status. He experienced a great fall, a great descent, because the Jewish people were not even among, he wasn't even there.
Right.
Why would he experience a descent? Why would he be punished? Why should he suffer a spiritual fall, a spiritual descent because the Jewish people sinned? The answer is because Moshe is the Jewish people. They are together as one unit. And when the Jewish people fall, he falls. It's a natural consequence. It's not a punishment, it's a natural consequence. If the people of Israel fall, Moshe falls automatically. That means that the Jewish people and Moshe are literally one unit. And the connection, his connection with the Jewish people is even deeper than than his connection with the Torah. And this is the part you need to understand and appreciate. It says that the Torah and God is one essence, right? It says that God, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, and the first word of the Ten Commandments is, I am God your Lord. So what does the word Anochi mean? Our sages tell us, literally it means I. But the word Anochi is also an acronym for 4 Aramaic words. Ano Nafshi Kasavis Yahavis, which means I. God saying, I, my essence, my soul, I have given to you and written in this Torah. That means that the Torah is one with Hashem. Hashem put his essence into the Torah. So, and that's why the Zohar says, Eiraisa v'kutshabrichu kul echad. God and the Torah is all one. The Torah is God. That's why when you learn Torah, you're one with Hashem. Because Hashem is the Torah. Yet it says that the connection between God and the Jewish people is even deeper than the connection between God and this Torah. It says also Yisroel v'kutshabrichu, that the Jewish people and God are also one. It says God and the Torah are one, and it says God and the Jewish people are one. Which is deeper? The Medrash asks, which is even greater, the Jewish people or the Torah? And it answers that the Jewish people came before the Torah. That means that at some level the Jewish people are even deeper, are connected to God on a deeper level than the Torah is connected to God. And the same thing is with Moshe. We said Moshe and the Torah are one. It's called by his name, Teiras Moshe. He became one with the Torah, but he also became one with the Jewish people. Which was deeper? Which is a deeper connection? Moshe with the Jewish people is connected even deeper than he is with the Torah. And this is true not only of Moshe, it's true of every leader of the Moshe in every generation. That their connection with the Jewish people, especially those that have an open connection with them, is even deeper than the connection with the Torah that they write. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the Torah. Every Moshe of subsequent generations added to the Torah, wrote their own novelties in Torah, added to the Torah, their chidushim, their innovations in Torah. They became one with the Torah that they wrote, but they were connected even deeper with the people with the Jewish people of their time, and especially with those Jews that have an open connection with them. So therefore, in our story with Moshe Rabbeinu, now Moshe is on the mountain receiving the Torah, yeah? Comes God to him and tells him, I'm sorry, there's a little problem over here. The Jewish people sinned with the golden calf, I'm killing them, I'm destroying them. And I'm going to give you the Torah, and you're going to give it to new people, that we're going to start all over again. But because...
I make from you a new nation.
Huh?
Because I make from you a new
Yes,
nation.
he said, I'm going to start a new nation from you. And you're going to give this Torah to this new nation that I'm starting from you. What does Moshe tell God? I'm sorry.
No deal.
There's no deal, right. I don't want it. Erase me from your Torah that you have written. Because his connection to the Jewish people ran even deeper than the connection that he had to the Torah. So that's why it expressed itself in both. First of all, he had a greater Mesiras Nefesh for the Jewish people than he had for the Torah. Mesiras Nefesh means self-sacrifice. Moshe gave his life up for the Torah. His whole life was Torah. And he gave up his life for Torah. Yet, he gave up even more for the Jewish people than he gave up for the Torah. Because as I said, his connection to Torah, that became his very essence. Yet he was ready to give it up. Give up his whole future, his whole essence for the Jewish people. Because his connection with them was even deeper. So that's what Moshe says. I'm not interested in my connection with Torah, or I am interested in it, but it's not as significant as my connection to the Jewish people. That means he gave up his life's mission, his life's project, the Torah, on behalf of the Jewish people, because his connection to the Jewish people ran even deeper than his connection to the Torah. That's number one. And therefore also comes the second point. Who did he give up his life for? Think about it. Not for great tzaddikim, for great scholars, for holy men. He gave up his life for the idol worshippers of the golden calf. Think about that.
These people.
But, yeah, right, exactly. But the point being that even though these people were completely disconnected from the Torah, they violated the worst sin of the Torah, which is idol worship. That means they tore away their connection with Torah. Yet that did not stop Moshe from with God as it's expressed in the Torah. So it's the Torah. So but yet Moshe felt that even though these were the simplest of Jews, the sinners of the Jewish people, and they tore away their connection with the Torah, still their connection with God was still there. Why? Because the connection of a Jew with God is even deeper than his connection with the Torah. So even though his connection with Torah is gone, it's over, his connection with God is still there. And that's why Moshe, whose connection with the Jewish people is at that level, so therefore the expression of his self-sacrifice for the Jewish people wasn't only for Jews that learned Torah or are dedicated to the Torah. It made no difference. All Jews were equal. Yeah.
I'm looking at the sequence. Didn't later on Moses order them to melt down the golden calf?
Yeah.
And these people to drink it, and they died?
Yeah.
I don't know, 10%, 50%, whatever.
3,000 people.
So again, his love for the Jewish people was it for those people that he punished later on, or for the people who didn't do these terrible things?
For everyone.
Even though he punished these people,
God punished these people.
tortured them.
He didn't torture
I
them.
mean, they're drinking this and knowing that they're going to die.
This was a punishment.
That's a
You
disgrace.
have to get a punishment. A punishment you have to... In other words, the people had to be punished for what they did.
There were only 3,000 of them.
Only those that instigated it. But the people that didn't instigate it, God was going to kill the whole Jewish people.
He would have killed
He
them.
would have, and Moshe saved that. Because of his great sacrifice for even those the people that worshipped the golden calf. So they didn't end up they were forgiven. They ended up being forgiven, most of the Jewish people.
But those 3,000 won. There was no way to forgive them.
First of all, it could be they were forgiven. A punishment may mean forgiveness also. Could be that was their punishment, and now they go, they get... It means they're not completely disconnected from the Jewish connection with Hashem. A punishment doesn't mean you're not forgiven. Maybe on the contrary, maybe the punishment is a part of the forgiveness. But you're right, those people were punished. And this, therefore, is the meaning of Moshe's words when he told God, I'm not interested in your Torah. What does he mean? And we asked before, what's the connection? Why do you want to be erased from the Torah if the Jewish people are? There's a deep connection. The meaning of this is, Moshe is telling God, if their sin is so strong that you cannot forgive them, from the Torah's perspective, you can't forgive them. There's no room for forgiveness. Then erase the Torah, me from the Torah. What he means is as follows. Moshe is connected to God through Torah and through his neshama. Right? Through his soul. What he's saying is like this. The Torah is a lower level, we said. His connection through Torah is a lower level than the connection through the neshama. In other words, the connection of the neshama runs deeper than the connection through Torah. What he's saying to God is like this. If the Torah is an obstacle, if from the Torah's perspective the sin is so bad where there's no room for forgiveness, remove that aspect of my connection. And what will happen then is, what will be revealed in full glory? Only my connection through the neshama, with my neshama to their neshama. In other words, the soul connection will become revealed, nothing else, and then, from that point of view, there has to be forgiveness. Because what happened? They violated a mitzvah in the Torah, right? They violated a very important mitzvah in the Torah. I'll give you an example. When you have parents and children, you have a household. It's a mother, a father, and a few children. The connection between the parents and children is very deep. It's an essential connection. But every parent has rules of the household. You have to go to sleep on time, you have to wake up on time, you have to do your homework, you have to keep your bedroom clean, and if you don't, you get punished. If you don't, you get punished. What happens if a child sins terribly against his parents? He violates every rule that the parents have in their house.
Out.
You kick him out of the house? What do you do?
This is today.
Some people would kick them out of the house, right?
Sending him to yeshiva.
Oh,
What a punishment.
I need to work for my
Some
son.
people see that as a punishment. But really, what's the point? What I'm trying to say is, children and parents have two levels of connection. There's the connection through the laws and the rules of the house, and then there's the connection of the deeper, essential connection. I'm your child. When you violate the rules of the house, what happens? You get punished. What does a child have to do? What does a child have to do if he wants to get forgiveness from his parents? He has to go around, he has to go find a way to get into the deeper, higher level of his connection with God and with his parents and say, you gave me a Torah, you gave me rules.
No, that's when
You can go beyond that. There's a part of you and me that goes beyond the rules. That's what Moshe was saying. If from the rules point of view, from the Torah's point of view, I need to get punished and they have to be destroyed, remove the Torah. What would happen when you remove the rules? Erase me from your Torah. In other words, take away that connection. Stop focusing on that connection. What becomes revealed? The highest and deepest connection, which is that I have a neshama and they have a neshama, and we're all connected, we're all one with you. That's what Moshe is saying. If you can forgive them, good. If, in other words, if you can find through the Torah a way for forgiveness, great. But if not, erase me from the Torah. In other words, remove that connection from me. In other words, stop focusing on that connection. Remove me from the Torah, and look more at what will become revealed, the highest and essential, most essential connection between all of us, which is our neshama. And from that point of view, he gained forgiveness for the Jewish people. That means that he gave up he was ready to sacrifice his connection to the Torah on behalf of his connection to the Jewish people. And now we come back to what did God choose from all the 40 portions to erase his name from the portion of Tetzaveh. Remember in the beginning we asked, why was it this portion that was chosen to erase his name? His name is not mentioned in the Torah. The answer is because this portion from beginning to end represents the essence connection between Moshe and the Jewish people, and I'll tell you how. You were going to ask a question. Go ahead.
I get from this, the bottom line is, Moshe loves God because God is essentially loving and forgiving. And when God cannot forgive, he's saying, I'm out of here.
No, what he's saying is, he's telling God, the reason you can't forgive is because you're focusing on a lower, lesser level of connection between you and the Jewish people and
so
me.
He's reminding God.
So what he's telling God is, remove that level of connection and focus on the deeper level of connection. That's what he means. Erase me from the Torah. Erase that connection for a moment. What does Moshe accomplish at the end? That he gets forgiveness and he reconnects the Jewish people with the Torah. Because at the end of the day, we do have to connect to God via the Torah. You can't remove the Torah from the equation. That is our connection. It's just in extreme moments when there's no choice, you have to tell God, wait a minute, you have a deeper level of connection. Tap into that. Remove me from the Torah. In other words, remove that level of connection. But the point of Moshe is to reconnect the Jewish people with the Torah.
Eventually.
Not eventually, right then and there. The connection was reestablished immediately after they got the forgiveness. But that forgiveness had to come from a deeper level. And now I come full circle. Why was it the portion of Tetzaveh? What is the portion of Tetzaveh? We said before, the opening word is Ve'ata Tetzaveh, you. And we said the commentators tell us that what does you refer to? You in your essence. Usually Moshe's name is used. God spoke to Moses that he should give over to the Jewish people the mitzvahs, right? All over the Torah his name is used. Over here it's not his name. We go deeper into Moshe, his essence. What is the subject of this portion? The first part of the Parshat talks about the oil. You think about it, the oil was supposed to be brought to Aaron to light the menorah. Why didn't they tell him to bring it to Moshe? Why didn't they tell him to bring the oil to Aaron? Why is the mitzvah that the Jews should bring the oil to Moshe and then Moshe should give it to Aaron? Go straight to Aaron. What does Moshe have to be involved? The answer is because Aaron. What's Aaron? What does Aaron represent? Aaron is the high priest, a man of holiness. a man that's connected to Torah. He lives his whole life is dedicated to holiness, to the Torah's holiness. So what would happen was, if it was all up to Aaron, if it was only Aaron that was doing if you would bring it straight to Aaron, what would happen is you would make the mistake thinking that only those Jews that are holy, that live Aaron's life the way that Aaron the lifestyle that Aaron represents, would have a connection to the menorah, to the holiness of the menorah, and so on. So God tells them, they have to bring the menorah to you, the lights to you, the oil to you. Because only Moshe connects all Jews together. Because he's connected to the Jewish people at the deepest levels. The Jews that are holy, Jews that are not holy, Jews that are very distant from Torah. To bring them into... What's the menorah, the Beis Hamikdash, is one of the most fundamental aspects of Judaism. That's the place that connects Jews to God. It has to go through Moshe. And that's why also, briefly, the next subject in the Torah, it says that Moshe is the one that should make the vestments for Aaron HaKohen. Moshe is the one that has to inaugurate the Kohanim, to install them into the priesthood. Because all of this has to come through Moshe. Because Moshe, in his essence, only the essence of Moshe can connect the Jewish people together, where there's no difference between Jews. When is there a difference between Jews? When you're looking at them from the perspective of Torah. He learns a lot of Torah, he fulfills a lot of mitzvahs of the Torah, but these Jews don't. These Jews don't. But only Moshe, when his name is not used, when you get to the essence of Moshe, the highest level of Moshe, Moshe in his name, the name Moshe represents Torah. But when you say Va'ata, you in your essence, you're going deeper into Moshe, which means he's going deeper into his connection with the Jewish people. So only he can connect all the Jewish people to the menorah, to the holiness of the Beis Hamikdash, to that, through Aaron, of course. Aaron has to do the service. But Moshe has to be the catalyst. Moshe has to be the one to put it all together. That's also the end of the Parsha. This ends off the Parsha. It says that they were told to make the golden altar. What's the golden altar? What was the golden altar used for? The incense. That was the Mizbeach HaKtoros, the Mizbeach of the incense. What was the incense? When was the incense used? When was that the main day of that the main avodah of the incense was on Yom Kippur? What's Yom Kippur? Again, Yom Kippur represents that moment, the forgiveness, the idea of going deeper, to reveal the essential connection of the Yidden with Torah. Because if you think about it, it's interesting. The Mizbeach, the construction of the Mizbeach should have been commanded in last week's portion, where all of the Beis Hamikdash was built. All the Mishkan was built last week, not this week. This week talks about the vestments of the Kohen. But the Mizbeach, which is another item in the Beis Hamikdash, should have been in last week's portion. Why is it in this week's portion? Because this relates to the essence of Moshe and the Jewish people. It says about the Keteris? How is the incense made? There were 11 different types of spices that we used. One of those spices was chelbana. Chelbana says that it has a very bad smell. With the ugly smell. Why do they use something like that in the Keteris? Because each one of these spices represented something else among the Jewish people. And the chelbana represents the lowest grade of the Jewish people, those that sin, those that are not connected to Torah. They had to be part of the incense. And again, that's why it's in this parsha, in the parsha that emphasizes the deepest level of Moshe. All other parshas, we said, represents Moshe's name, where Moshe was called by name, meaning his connection through Torah. From that perspective, you would think that Jews that are not connected to Torah are out of the picture. That's why these items, these subjects, are put in the portion of Tetzaveh. Because these are the subjects that represent, that talk about the Jewish people on their highest essential level. That the part of the menorah, the fact that you can light up a Yid's neshama. What's the menorah? The menorah is the neshama of a Yid, they're the lights of the Jewish people. That can only happen through Moshe. The whole avodah, the whole work in the Beis Hamikdash, which is through the Kohanim, And as I said before, the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash was a fundamental avodah. It had to be done to represent all Jews. Who could represent all Jews? Only the Va'ata of Moshe, only the essence of Moshe. And the same thing with the Keteros. With that altar, which was the Mizbeach, the altar that which they offered the incense on it, the incense represented all the Jewish people. Who could represent that? Who could do that? Only the Va'ata of Moshe, the essence of Moshe, reveals that every Yid is equal, even beyond Torah, beyond their connection to Torah. So even though there's a Jew that doesn't smell well, doesn't smell good, he's chelbana, he's also part of it because from his essence, he's connected to Hashem, even though he doesn't have a good smell. Even though he violates the Torah and he's not connected to the Torah. So you're right, Moshe's name was erased from the portion of Tetzaveh, but his essence is very much alive, very much present. Not only is his essence very much present, but that's where his essence is revealed. That's where his essence is mostly needed. And that's where we get the atonement for the golden calf. Thank you very much. That's a lesson here is also, there's a great lesson in all of this. And ultimately our job is, our love for a Yid has to run so deep, even more than the Torah says you should love a Yid, v'ahavta l'reacha kamecha, as much as you love yourself. Over here Moshe showed us that he loved the Yidden even more than he loved himself. What's his self? His self was Torah. It ran even deeper.